We're joined now by Fatima Daura, the Director of the Internally Displaced Department at the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons. Good to see you and thanks for your time. Well, it's a beautiful moment to actually celebrate the work that these humanitarian workers are doing. But again, to start off, we understand security is at the top of what we're dealing with at the moment. Help us make sense of the main security challenges that your workers or humanitarian workers go through in Nigeria.
Okay, good evening and thank you for having me. As we're aware, today is the International Humanitarian Day, and this day started to be commemorated. We started commemorating it as a humanitarian community in 2008, 5 years after the heinous attack at the UN headquarters in Iraq. And since then, humanitarian workers have been the target of attacks. Civilians have been the target of attacks against the international humanitarian law and international treaties. So as you're aware, in Nigeria, even during the polio campaigns, aid workers were killed. Recently, even in Borno State, you remember a health worker, a humanitarian worker was killed. So it is, last year was the worst year for the killing of humanitarian workers and civilians. So this day is a day to bring the advocacy to the forefront, to ensure that governments, as well as non-state actors, are responsible and they abide by the international humanitarian law. Because humanitarian workers are those that provide care to the most vulnerable. They provide critical care and they must be protected. So
yeah, they must be protected. I'm excited you're looking at that. But are there specific measures your department has put in place to guarantee their safety?
Well, it's beyond my department. I should have said I'm representing my boss, the Honorable Federal Commissioner, who's the Chief Executive Officer of the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons. So as a commission, we have protective measures. Of course, when it comes to travel, we travel within certain hours. We don't travel at night. We also try to, of course, men are protective. So when the women travel, we travel with also men colleagues to protect us. And we try to abide by security advisory, fly where you cannot drive. We partner also with our security forces when we go for needs assessments or palliative distributions. We work with the police, the civil defense, and depending on the area, we also work with the armed forces, depending on how severe it is. So we take measures as much as we can, but the dangers remain.
Well, I'm excited you're not going deep into the areas of protocol involved for your safety. But again, are there specific areas or within Nigeria that face high risk in terms of humanitarian work?
Of course, they are. Of course, the northeast, it's much better now, but Borno, there are certain parts of Borno that we cannot travel to without army escorts. There's some that we're advised not to go at all. For example, in Zamfara, we would like to go and provide humanitarian support, but in some areas we can't go because our security cannot be, it cannot be guaranteed. So it's really painful for humanitarian workers to want to go and provide the support that we should, but we can't. Some parts of Katsina also are quite, it's moving to the northwest now with the banditry. In the north central also we have a rising case of displacement due to violence. So it depends really. So in a state, there's some areas where you can go and there's some that you can't. So sometimes we use proxies to provide humanitarian support.
Are there training measures? Now it brings us to the future of the department. But again, quickly here, are there safety measures you would like to incorporate in your activities now that you know that this is a very sore point in the life of a humanitarian worker?
Well, of course, having cars that are bulletproof like the UN uses, I think government officials that work in humanitarian action require that level of support. Of course, security training for our workers. Defensive driving for our drivers and support staff. I think these are some of the things, but of course improved security also, so that we're able to travel to wherever and provide the care that we are mandated to provide.
I know your job involves collaboration, a whole lot of collaboration, apart from displaced persons within state borders. Some may have actually gone beyond state borders, making them refugee. How are you working with NGOs to ensure that some of those that you push in come to fruition?
Okay, the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons is the federal government agency which has the mandate to provide care, support, maintenance, but most especially durable solutions to what we call persons of concern. And these are IDPs, refugees, migrants, asylum seekers, returnees, as well as stateless persons. So it's even beyond NGOs. Our work, particularly now where there's like an economic crunch, resources are scarce. We partner with not just NGOs but other government agencies. For example, we recently launched the Renewed Hope Agricultural Empowerment Program for IDPs in Nasarawa, and the phase 2 in Jos on Friday, in Plateau, sorry, on Friday. We partnered with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, which provided us with the inputs, the technical support, and a private sector company that works around the agricultural value chain. In terms of providing education in emergencies, we've partnered with local NGOs to do the work for us across about 7 states in Nigeria. So depending on the area, we partner with NGOs, we partner with the UN. For example, UNHCR is our greatest supporter. We have a tripartite agreement with UNHCR for bringing Nigerian refugees back into Nigeria. Yeah, we have about 377,000 Nigerian refugees in the neighboring countries of Niger, Chad, and Cameroon. So UNHCR supports us to bring them in phases. So partnership is key to the work that we do.
Well, good thing. We have a new management in place. Without pushing too far, let's talk about the direction for the new management.
Yes, we have a pretty new management. He resumed last year, September 2023, as the Chief Executive Officer, and his focus has been more towards durable solutions and less on palliative distribution. So, and this was
less on palliative distribution.
Yes, we are a humanitarian organization, and we have to provide palliatives when the need arises. But the focus, for example, this agricultural empowerment program, is to allow the IDPs is for the restoration of their livelihoods. So we worked with traditional leaders, so the Emir of Loko in Nasarawa State and the Bongom Jos in Plateau provided land on loan for some years, for as long as possible. We provided the IDPs, we did the profiling and the cash grant support for labor, and the Ministry of Agriculture provided the inputs, the technical assistance. So it's a joint thing. They farm, and we will invite you for the harvest. We hope to do to cultivate very soon. So in a couple of months, we should be able to harvest, and the IDPs power back to their hands so that they can sell what they farmed for subsistence, and then money in their hands. So that's the whole.
It's very important when you talk about money in their hands, because I recall 2002 and 2003, I was at the Oru refugee camp in southwest Nigeria, and some of the people you find in displaced persons camp are people like you and I who have been dislocated and displaced. So give us a sense of some of the people in these camps so that people can understand how important it is for us to settle them as soon as possible.
You know, it's a range of people. Without saying the background of somebody I worked with as a professional is currently a displaced person. So that is, you find all sorts of people that used to be wealthy. There's a refugee that came in from Chad who used to be very wealthy. If you see the way she carries herself, you know, but she lost everything because of war. So you find people from all walks of life, but of course those that are of lower economic status, it's more difficult for them to reintegrate and stabilize. So, and of course majority of the IDPs are women and children. Most of the men are killed in conflict or forcefully conscripted into non-state actor groups. So you find a range of people, you and I.
So for the foreseeable future, before you go, what are we looking at in terms of closing some of these camps? Because some of them can't be there, you know, forever. So are there plans in place?
Actually, as a government, we don't even encourage camping. So Borno State government has done a good job at closing camps and returning people to their ancestral homes, but sometimes you cannot avoid it. But what we're trying to do, like I mentioned, giving the example of the Renewed Hope Agricultural Program for IDPs, is once people, their livelihoods are restored, they sort themselves out. They can rent, and if they have enough money, they can buy their own houses. So our mantra is that the restoration of livelihoods is the bedrock of durable solutions. But another angle to it, which is also our mandate, is the prevention of conflict that causes forced displacement. So this is something we're really focusing on recently. It's something we've put a focus on. So around peace building and resilience building in communities, countering violent extremism. So preventing displacement.
Fatima, Daura, many thanks for joining us on Newsline, and I do hope we'll stay on this and have this conversation in the days ahead.
All right, thank you very much.